Hello and welcome back everyone. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to make this cool aged wine barrel and also a couple of tips along the way to make it easier for you to make your own. Alright, let's get on with the video. Okay, to start off, I have baked my cakes in 3 different sizes, 2 in 4 inch, 2 in 5.5 and another 2 in 6.5 inches. Altogether 6 layers of cakes baked in 2 different flavors. Now why I baked these in 3 different sizes, then there is less time I spend on carving the cake to get the shape of the barrel. Now if you happen to bake all your cake layers in one size, then you'll have to spend quite a lot of time carving the cake to get the shape of the barrel. I'm stacking my cake starting with the small layer, that is 4 inch, followed by 5.5 and then 6.5. Once I get to the third layer of cake, I'm using a cake board as a support before I put the next 3 layers of cake. If you don't use a cake board in between the cake layers, what will happen is the weight of the top layers gonna squash the bottom layers. So you need to use a cake board in between layers. And also I have 2 wooden dowels going through in the center of the cake for extra support. And after that I'm stacking the rest of the layers. Once that is done, I'm gonna give a good crumb coat and put that in the fridge before I start carving the cake. So here I started carving my chilled cake. I didn't have to do much because it had already taken the shape of a barrel since I baked it in 3 different sizes. However, my bottom 2 layers, while stacking, I mixed up the sizes, so I kind of had to remove quite a lot from there, but at the end it was all good because I managed to get the shape back on with a thick layer of chocolate ganache. Once the cake is totally covered with chocolate ganache, it was just a matter of applying layer after layer of chocolate ganache, smoothing it afterwards and refilling where it needed to achieve the shape of the barrel. I did this process till I was satisfied with the shape and till I got the overall shape of a barrel. So the next thing is taking the measurement of the cake, the height and the circumference of top, bottom and the middle, and I'm making myself a small template to cut the wooden panels. The template, the middle part is more wider than the top and the bottom. Okay, onto the fondant. Now I have my main color is cream color. I have rolled it into a big log and also I've colored some fondant to darker shades of brown and lighter shades of brown. I'm breaking that colors into small pieces and attaching it onto the main log. There is no exact pattern, randomly attach it here and there and then roll it into a big long log and then twist the ends and mix the color till you get a pattern that you like. The idea behind this is to get the wooden pattern that you'd find on a wooden barrel. Once you have your desired pattern, you can stop there and then roll out the fondant to the size of your cake. A quick tip for you guys: when you roll out your fondant and cut the panels, before you put it onto the cake, leave it outside to dry for 10-15 minutes. This will make it easier for you to handle the fondant once you go to put it onto the cake, and it will hold the shape of your panels well. I'm cutting all my panels using the template that I made. There's about 7 panels. How many panels you're going to be needing depends on the circumference of your cake. This right here is a wood grain texture mat I'm using to get the wooden effect onto the fondant. Now this step you can do once you roll out your fondant before you cut your panels. It will be much easier. I forgot that step, so I had to do this once I cut all my panels. Here I covered the top of the barrel with fondant, and after that I'm gonna attach all my panels, and I'm using Crisco. I have applied a thick layer of Crisco onto the ganache before I attach all the panels. Though I used my impression mat to get the wood texture onto the fondant, by the time I finished attaching all my panels to the cake, it looked very bland. I got my Dresden tool and ran through all those wood lines once more, especially emphasizing on the knots, the wood knots, and the line where the two panels meet, and it made a huge difference and looked more realistic than the lines or the wood texture I got from my impression mat. Alright, I'm done paneling my cake. I'm moving on to the fun bit of this whole process. I'm going to airbrush the whole cake. Now, if you don't have an airbrush, you can hand paint this cake. That's just fine. I'm starting off with the lightest color that I used to color the base fondant and gradually building up the layers of darker shades of brown to get that aged barrel look. My final color, black color, to highlight the eye sort of thing, the texture that you'd find on a wood, and also to highlight where the two panels meet. Now, if you're coloring this, don't just go in with the dark color first. You need to gradually build up colors to get the depth to your final product. Here I'm cutting long strips for the steel band that goes around the wooden barrel. Now I have measured the thickness that I want and the width that I want the strips to be, and I'm using this little gadget to cut all my strips. Once that is done, I'm coloring all my strips with black color and then let it dry. Then after that I'm coloring it with silver color to get that steel look. Making the birthday banner, now I printed it to the size that I needed, rolled out the fondant, I let it dry 10-15 minutes before I transferred the banner onto the fondant. When you go to transfer that onto the freshly rolled out fondant, it's gonna give you a lot of indents and fingerprints, so let the fondant dry and then go on transfer that onto the fondant. Once I finish tracing the banner, I'm using edible marker to write over that. Here I'm adding all the final details to the cake. I have printed out the ear to the size of the cake and I'm airbrushing it. After that, airbrushing the steel rings as well, just to bring out highlights and give more depth to the overall look of the cake. Once that is done, covering the cake board with fondant, cleaning up and adding final touches to the cake. Now here I have an image of an old newspaper that I found on the internet. I printed that out onto an edible wafer paper and pasting it to the base of the cake to bring more interest to the whole look of the barrel cake. Alright, this is the final product. Like always, I hope you learned a few things and enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys soon with another one. Until then, take care you guys.